So now I'd like to help you write a function, and here are the reasons why. A goal for this tutorial is to write a script that works not just to display 2013, 2003, and 1993 as a RGB composite, but is more general than that. And so beyond this specific case, it would allow us, like ideally the script is going to allow us to choose any 3 years in this image collection to create an RGB composite of. Is that fair? So we're aiming for a certain kind of reusability of this script where all we have to do is change the numbers that are stored in this dictionary, and then we'll be able to create a deposit or a composite for those 3 years. So what we found, and so you could see that we were trying to do that. Like we just copied this B1 thing and tried to get it to apply here. And what we found is that the conditions for this are different than this. So we found that in some years there's going to be more than one image, and in other years there's just going to be a single image. And so this solution only really works for for a year that has a single image. It would work, but it would be a kind of not taking advantage of some of the extra information that we had if we used it in cases where there was more than 1 year collected or more than one image collected for a year. So we switched to mean. So what I'd like to do is basically two things. One, can we just write a function? Can we make it easier to reuse code rather than just copying and pasting and having to go through and make the changes in the script? And then two, which is going to follow this video, um, is does this give an equivalent result to this? We know that this won't give an equivalent result to this, right? But will mean and first give the same result, or will mean produce the same result as first if in conditions where there's only one image in the year. But that's something we'll figure out later. For now, let's just talk about, let's write a function. So sorry for the long setup, but that's the why I'm doing this. So let's uh, let's try to move forward here. So I've brought the starter snippet over, and I've created this container for you called make image for band. I'm using what they call the camel case here because the I'm using capital letters to kind of mark the changes in the word rather than the snake case that uses the underscore to separate them like spaces. And I just do this because it seems to be the pattern that these engineers did, and so I am copying that for functions. I will use the camel case, and so it doesn't matter. You could use the snake if you wanted to. It's just I'm just explaining my idiosyncrasies to you. So make image for band is going to be equal to, and I'm going to type in function, and it's going to get bold and mad at the same time. But that's okay, we'll just live through it. So the idea is that in this container, we're going to store a function. And then I put parentheses here to define what are the arguments that I want to feed it. And so basically we want to reuse this pattern right here where we take this collection and we define the years, the units, take the mean, and then this again. So the main thing that might differ is if we're always working in this image collection and assuming that we've done things like if we've done this step, the main thing that's going to, and we've done this step, the main thing that's going to kind of differ below this is going to be that we might change our mind on the year. So I'm going to just type in year here or YR as the template for the argument, or basically the variable for our argument. And that might be confusing, but I'm just going to say we're going to feed this thing a year. And then I'm going to say that the function is going to be defined within these curly brackets. Is that okay? So then what I'm going to do is say I'd like this function to basically create this variable. So I'm just going to copy B2 and paste it in here. And I'm going to give I'm going to make things align because it bothers me when things don't align. So I'm going to say, let's create a variable and call it something like band to make it general. That's going to take the collection that we defined at the top here. Boom. So it's going to take that thing, it's going to filter it using this calendar range, but rather than using B2, we're going to say use whatever year we fed you in this function and filter on that. And then do this, the years unit stays the same, get the mean, rename it, and then we don't want to rename it B2. We want to again name it whatever year we feed you. Rename the band with that label. Is that fair? And so that's going to create this little variable as an internal variable of the function. And now we need to basically make it external by returning it, and we just say now return whatever you stored in here. Please return it, like please kick it out basically. And I think we can get rid of that semicolon, and I think it'll be happy at this point where you have a basically you have the semicolon here, or I'm sorry, you have the curly bracket here that matches the curly bracket there. You have a semicolon at the end of the curly bracket, and within these curly brackets, you're saying, please create this internal variable called band that's going to take a collection and do all this. It's just going to use whatever argument here we feed it here to filter. It's going to get the mean, it's going to name it again off of that, and it's going to return the band. Is that fair? So now we can try to call it by saying, all right, now let's remake B1, the one that we made with this first method. Let's remake that. But this time I should say B1 test, just so that we don't overwrite it. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to make that again, make image for band, right? So I'm going to call that function by bringing in, make sure you don't misspell it, and then you're going to feed it something. And so in this case, we're going to feed it the year for B1 by saying years.b1. So we're going to go back and we're going to use that dictionary method to call that year. Is that fair? And so let's just kind of print this, the function test one is gonna, for B1, is gonna be B1 test. Got mad as it does, and then I put that over like that. So I'm saying now print out the function test for B1 test, because it's that thing, and if I hit run, should work okay. And there it is, function test B1. I've got an image, cool, and it's got one band and it's got that. Is that fair? So this seemed to work, just for yeah. And so does that make sense? Let's keep moving here. So then let's kind of look at it as a layer. I'm going to say B1 test. I should still be able to call viz. We defined that there, so I can still call it. And then I just need to say string and years B1, right? And then I'll just say false and hit run. And what we should get is that, well, we've got this in here a lot. Did I mess up back here? So that's string B2. Did I just not? Yeah, I'm sorry. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night. So we've got two 2013s. And if I click one on and off, they look pretty similar. So congratulations, you just made a function, and the next one is just going to double check to make sure that these two outputs are indeed equivalent. So I'm going to hit save and then move on.